There is something so damaging, so profoundly hurtful, when we silence those who are suffering, when we turn away from their pain, their wounds, their darkness. Those who have lost loved ones to suicide, the survivors, are left with no answers, no real answers as to why someone they loved would take their own life. It is so difficult to live without answers, with the mystery of never knowing why. Before I was born, my uncle, Elihu Silverman, committed suicide. I never knew. No one spoke about it. At 17, I found out by accident. Elihu, dead suddenly at 23, gas poisoning. As I read on, I realized he had taken his own life. I was shocked. No one had told me the truth. Why had there been this silence, this secrecy? Why did my grandmother have to suffer alone? Why did my grandfather have to hide his tears? Why did my father never talk about the brother who taught him to ski and to love music? I looked for the story behind my parents' silence, for my uncle, who I never knew. I had to create faces, forms, images, masks, which led me on a journey. Like the Greek goddess Persephone, I felt myself being pulled into something ancient, a place unseen, unheard, and yet always present. I went in search of those who had gone before, the survivors. I met Caroline, the facilitator of a self-help support group called Family Survivors of Suicide. 6 members from this group created their own masks as a way to express what was hidden, what felt unspeakable.
Is, you know, you can't rationalize all the time.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, so it's got to be expressed in some other way. And that's the challenge we all have.
Yeah.
Huh? It's 20 years I've been associated with the group. It was my husband, actually. He was, there was 4 parents that got together. And it sort of landed on my shoulders to carry it on for no good reason other than perhaps others came and they left. And I couldn't quite see it dying. I just feel the need to be there until someone else can carry the torch for me.
Would you call yourself the facilitator? Is that the word?
Yes.
So that's your role?
Yeah, that's the role as a facilitator. First of all, it's been an act of courage to get there for many people. And when they come into a room and there's other people there, they don't know the comfort level that is actually there until they've been with us a little while. So they're apt to be very withdrawn, quiet, and that's fine. Most people come in, we're the only ones they can talk to. They feel very safe. They walk in the door, they feel very safe. This is a group that's going to know exactly where I've been.
It's about the only place now, especially now, where I feel I can be myself. I don't necessarily have to talk, but I just feel well there. At the beginning, when I started going there, it was very hard for me. Like, I could not talk. But you know what? They were there. They weren't physically holding my hand, but I felt that they were there for me. They were holding me, and I was able to talk. And when you lose a loved one to suicide, that's what you have to do. You have to keep talking about that person, and that's the only thing you can do.
You and I have talked about stigma, that some people are not able to hear, able to talk about it, and you also mentioned that friends turned away, which is kind of surprising to me. Like, you'd think they would have.
Not at all. I don't know if they don't know how to handle it. Some people do become uneasy when you do talk about it, so then I just ease off.
And what do you see? Like, when somebody comes uneasy, what do they do?
You could see just by their expression that they're uncomfortable.
They kind of back away a little?
Yeah, but their facial expression, you know, like I don't know how to I don't know how to explain it to you, except that they look like they really don't want to be hearing this.
Okay.
So,
and then you stop talking.
Yes.
Give me something to remember you by. When you are far away from me. No.
My performance used to be driven by my ego. Simply my insatiable desire to be seen and to get attention. You know, and that compelled me for a lot of it. This year when I arrived to go back to work, I realized I didn't want anyone to look at me. There was a part where I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be out there because and I still felt like I was blessé, still injured.
Maybe we haven't lost the same loved one. You know, we've lost a mother, a father, a husband, a child. But what the common bond is that we did lose a loved one to suicide. And that pain is unique. And that loss is unique. You found out about your uncle when you were 17, and I believe you were devastated.
Yeah, I felt really shocked, betrayed. And also, I didn't understand the silence. Because in my family, we never talked about my uncle, ever.
Anybody everybody that comes to our group, none of them are responsible for what happened. And yet they have the burden. They have the burden to carry for the rest of their lives. That's why survivors are, I mean, really given a tremendous load to carry. Because they have to explain the unexplainable. They have to try to deal with the fact that now I've got to rise above this and lead a life, and you don't leave it behind you, but somehow or other you've got to use it somehow and perhaps extend yourself to the wider community if you can. Not everybody can. Not everybody can.
I looked to the survivors as my guides. I felt privileged to sit beside them. They were the ones who had been to the underworld, who knew the taste of death and despair. As I listened to their stories, I felt myself entering their world. Like Persephone, the Ancient One, I was called to enter the darkness. I was called to witness the truth.
I will never be the same. You know, I will not look at life in the same way. Perhaps I become, you know, I worry about people more. If I see a sign that, you know, things aren't going well for them and they're not, you know, they're feeling badly, I keep an eye on them. I wish I could have, you know, spoken to him a little bit more before. Although, how was I supposed to know? My husband had not attempted suicide another time, but he was thinking about it, and I shouldn't say that. He promised that he would look after himself and that he would, you know, seek the help necessary, which he did. And just when I was starting to feel a little bit more at ease, he committed suicide. So now I'm on the alert all the time.
So it was totally unexpected when it happened.
In a sense, yes, he was depressed, yes, but I thought that we were going to work things out. Francois was my best friend, the love of my life, and when I lost him, I lost everything. So I have to, and I get emotional even now, but I miss him terribly. And when I talk about him, the good times, the bad times, it helps. You have to get it out. He had told me that I would be better off without him many times. Many times. And that would get me angry. And I think when he did it, that's what he was thinking.
That you would be better off without him.
But he was wrong.
Oh, give me something to remember you by. When you are far away from me, dear, a little something meaning love cannot die. No matter where you chance to be.
She started to feel like she had less choices in life. And when she started to do that, when she started to actually relinquish her own sense of self and her own sense of what was important to her, that's when she started to kind of slip, because then she started giving up. I never imagined that it would go that far. And after the first attempt, I thought that, well, that was an extreme cry for help, and maybe it would lead to a separation or something, or schism in her family, somewhere where she would get out. And she seemed to get a little bit better, but it's hard for people who go through something like that, because you're kind of left on your own to set up your own resources. My sister was determined to do this, and it was something that couldn't stop, because she did it in a mental hospital on a 24-hour suicide watch. So the fact that it happened and that it was going to happen was kind of something that I couldn't do anything but accept it, because I went, that's, that was planned. It was beyond it was beyond the capacity of the hospital to deal with. They were flabbergasted because they'd never encountered a situation like this. My sister was probably the only person who took me exactly as I was. She and I was thinking about it again, she and I never talked about me being gay, ever. I guess she just knew, and that's the way I was, and it was never, that was just it. And too, that was the other thing too, is that, after she died, I realized that she was the only person in my family who saw me exactly like that and took me that way. Even my parents still struggle. She insisted that Jacques come to my that my partner be at her wedding. Even though that was really, my parents were having 50 fits about that, because there I was going to show up with my partner, and all of a sudden every relative I knew and every person on the planet was going to know I was out, but I was so far out, I never even thought I was actually in. So, and that was kind of amazing, and my sister was glad it was there, but my other relatives we didn't sit at my relatives' table with my assorted relatives. We sat with neighbors, because they wasn't going to make a spot for us. And it was just like, that kind of ridiculous thing. After the funeral, I even found out that she beat up a kid in my high school because he said a few things to her about me at a party. Then she didn't take it, and she knocked this guy down on his ass, and they had to get two guys to pull her off. And I thought, nobody ever in my life went to bat as much as my sister did for me. And it was that I went, it was, it was so hard, because the connection was so intense, and I realized that there was no one, absolutely no one else in my family who I would ever have that connection with again. So, it's, the loss was, I guess, more profound than I ever really knew. And it's only as it goes on that it sort of gets a little deeper, because there's, well, she wasn't here for like opening day of the season, where she had been other years, come down and cheered in the front row and stuff like that. So those are the things that I really miss, because I guess she was one of the I guess she was one of the only people that I really had an unconditional love with, and I only understand that now in its absence more.
Control is totally gone. You have no sense of control anymore, of anything. I mean, you do your best to do your, get it from A to Z. There's no question about it. But to think that you have a control of a situation that might take place tomorrow, you don't have that. That sense of control goes. We had a family that was shattered.
Yeah.
And what do I do about it? We think about it, talk about it. Where do you go from there? We cannot make judgments on the calls on the family and the extended family. We can't do that. We're condemning everybody associated. That there's something wrong with the family. There's something wrong there. Can you imagine two in one house? Can you imagine? How do you explain pictures in the house when you've got, like in my case, two boys missing? Why? Where are they? How do you go into a 5-year-old and try to explain that? Or 6-year-old? How do you explain that? So, I mean, it's the story never ends.
Right.
Norman, Michael, Gordon, and John, these are the two we lost.
Okay.
I heard the stories and felt myself falling. Shattered. Leaving behind everything I thought I knew. I had entered the underworld. The survivors bravely put on their masks. I had hoped the masks would be helpful, but when they put them on, they were led right back to the moment of the suicide. Back into Hades.
I don't know why it's so difficult, but I never imagined it would be difficult to wear it. But I find that it is. In some ways, it's part of my job to wear a mask when I go to work as a performer. And at this point, I realized, like, funny thing about this thing today is I realized I have to put my mask back on to go back to work. And I don't know if I have one anymore that I used to have. I gotta say, I don't know if I can, since I'm not the same, I don't know if I can go back and do what I did.
I found when I put it on and you said, how do you feel? All you see is two little holes. And the whole rest of the world, you don't see, no periphery vision. All you see is sort of just what's straight ahead of you. And what's behind the mask, nobody has any idea. What's behind that individual? It is a mask. And our lives are hidden to most 90% of the population that we see day in and day out. And we're hidden behind a mask. And yet it shows to the outside world that everything is fine, but they have no idea what's behind.
Because sometimes I think that's hard for us too, you know, is to look at people like that and to let them look at us like that. Because we feel like we've got it somehow on us, that if you look at us long enough, we will have to say, well, yes, you guessed, you know, and we'll have to tell you what it is that we're not telling you, you know. Mm-hmm.
The beginning was how I felt.
Yeah.
And I wanted to change it.
Yeah.
But I was trying to hide how I was feeling inside.
Yeah. But instead of hiding it,
you put on the brave face.
I think that Jill's mask, instead of hiding how she was feeling, which is what she was trying to do, actually ended up showing how she's feeling because it's so blue. These masks started out as an art project, okay? We'll make a mask, okay, fine, whatever, we'll make a mask. I don't think for us when we started doing these masks, even me, it was a joke, okay? It was really a joke. I mean, the situation's not a joke, but the mask was a joke. And when I was standing there, even though I didn't have the mask on, but I was just looking through it, I was thinking such horrible things that the mask totally creeps me out now. And like, I think that for us, this mask is, I don't know, representative of horror.
To try and experience their suffering, I needed to put on my mask, the one I found hideous and terrifying. I felt raw, unable to hide from myself, from my shame, my brokenness. I became the darkness. And somehow, miraculously, like Persephone, the Ancient One, I learned to survive, to find meaning in the shadows of the underworld.
From the beginning.
From the first
From the first day that I saw the mask, which I called it a naked mask.
naked.
Naked because it was just.
Oh, this was before you painted it or anything?
Yes.
Okay. Just the form.
Just the form
Okay.
upset me.
Wow.
And
Well, do you know why or what that was, or is it just
pain. Just pain.
Okay. So when you saw the mask, you saw pain.
Yes. I felt like I was choking.
Did you actually put it on? Or
Yes, not for long, but I did.
Okay. And that's when you felt like you were choking.
Yes.
Yeah. Because the pain, you were actually putting the pain on.
Yes.
Oh wow. Would you like to unwrap it and see it?
My God, I haven't seen it for a while. When was it? February? Oh, yeah. It's, I don't know where I got the idea from. I do know where I got the idea from.
You do?
Yeah. You know, I guess the best way to explain it, yeah, it is quite nice, isn't it, eh?
It is. It's spectacular.
And why it became the sort of the symbol of the Queen, perhaps. There was I guess, a person to me that wears a mask. This is what the public sees, but nobody sees what's
behind
it. Whereas we've shed the mask. We see the real soul of the person. Comes right through. And that shows nothing.
And
But yet, that's what the world sees. That's the hide. That's the shame that is hidden in here. And the stigma is in here. We can't break it.
Well, and it sounds like just the metaphor, the symbol, and the actual mask itself.
Yeah, because when you put that on, all of a sudden you realize you were propelled right back to the day everything happened.
Yes.
And that's very heavy.
Yes.
Very, very heavy. So the struggle for a survivor is that they have to live two lives in many ways. You've got to put the mask on at times, many times, be upbeat. If you've got family or you've got people to live for, you've got to put it on. But it has to come off. But you choose when it has to come off.
I was trying to find the perfect container for it, and it took me a long time because I wanted it
How
to
can
be
you contain something like
exactly. I wanted it to be simple and yet covered and sort of circular. So when you feel like it, you can unwrap it.
that? Yeah, that's very good. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah, I remember now. Oh, that crazy thing.
You can take it out, yeah.
Come up that side.
Yeah. What do you see when you look at it now? Because it's been a while since
Yeah.
you've seen it. How do you?
I don't necessarily recognize him as such. My attachment to it is very, well, no, I don't think I have an attachment to it. I think inevitably the construction of it served the purpose of it. Very often your face doesn't show what's going on. It is a mask. It's plain and it's white and it doesn't even have, your eyes are kind of blank.
Oh, so that you can't see through those eyes.
No, you couldn't. Yeah, you can't see out of them. But he's still in behind there. He's not really
Has
seeing
he
you.
lost his ability to see, or does he just see inside the mask?
I think at the time that I was making this guy, not that he had lost his ability to see, he didn't want to look out.
Oh, okay.
He just simply wanted to be enclosed in there. It became very suffocating. So my experience of putting it on was that I thought, okay, I've been wearing a mask, but I don't think I necessarily need to have one on. I think it goes back to that thing about being more truthful about things, about not having secrets about things. And I also learned that in going to that group, I had to be able to say what I thought was unsayable.
It sounds like that by making the mask and wearing the mask, it profoundly sort of told you how much you didn't need a mask and how much you didn't want a mask. That's so
Yeah, and what
fascinating.
kind of a
to me.
and what kind of a and what kind of a creation, and it's heavy, and it and it's a burden, and it's a mess. It's all of the things that I sort of went, I could dump. I don't. I look at that and I go, my head doesn't feel like that anymore.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
Wow. So this is your new apartment.
Yes, it is. Welcome to my new home.
Thank you. And you've been here how long?
2 months.
2 months. It looks like you've lived here forever. And this is the first time you've lived alone.
That's right.
Ever.
The very first time. So it's a whole new experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once my decision was made, there was no stopping me. But it took me a long time to come to that point, though.
And I guess also just to be emotionally ready to decide to.
Well, I don't know if I still am emotionally ready, but I'm here, and there's a lot of my husband here too, and so I'm kind of sharing this with him. So, and I know that he would be proud of me.
Do you think faith has something to do with that? Is that part of why you?
I do have faith, and I don't think I would be sitting here speaking to you if I didn't. I pray every day. I don't know if you call it praying. It's not of any particular denomination. I just talk to Jesus. I talk to my husband. I talk to my father. I talk to Mother Mary. Because I was born a Catholic, but I just talk to them as I'm speaking to you.
So it's
every day.
Is it almost conversational?
Well, no one answers me, but yes. Yeah, it is. Basically, it is conversational. I've been fortunate in my misfortune, to have some key people that have been with me. you being one of them. You know, I've appreciated.
Oh, thank you.
And I just hope those that are having a difficult time, that before they do anything, that they ask for help. And ask anybody for help. You know, that if you don't feel you can go to a family member, go to a stranger, but go for help. I get too emotionally involved still when I hear people's stories. So if I want to help, I have to be able to perhaps control my emotions a little bit more. Although, you know, crying is not a bad thing,
Well, that's it.
you know.
And I
So-
think that you help people when you're in the group and they come to the group.
Perhaps.
You know, as I've witnessed that, and I think just your sense of welcoming them and supporting them without even words. Because sometimes, as you said, you don't. It's not the words.
No.
It's just the presence of
That's
being
right.
there, and yeah. So you already are.
Maybe on a grander scale, I don't know. But somebody has to help these people out there. There's so many of them. So I want to. I want to make a difference.
I wanted to do something with the fact that there was a lot of answers I didn't have. So I thought, well, the only way I'm going to find out if I research this myself. So I thought of pastoral studies as well as study the theological interpretation of suicide. Because, I mean, even today, it's still stigmatized.
Yes.
It's still hush-hush. It still is. There's no question. I don't think we've made great leaps and bounds at all. Being in a faculty of theology, I had to do the religious interpretation, you know, so that's what I delved in. But the group was going to be the big focus too.
Maybe you can tell me a little bit about, because I know you went into it to find out the religious interpretation.
Yes.
Because so many people I know in Judaism and in Christianity say it's a sin, right? That suicide is a sin. So
In many cases where people would want to have Christian burial and they were refused. They couldn't have their loved one buried from their neighbor, their community church. Now, is that not condemning? Where does a person go? If their faith that they've had instilled from the time they were born is failing them. So that goes out the window.
rejecting them, pushing them
Yeah,
out, shutting
absolutely. And so how do they hold on to anything? So, I mean, that part was something that I had to get grips with because I didn't believe that could be true. And the church has a responsibility as well. Little bit, I mean, do you ever go in and hear a homily by a rabbi or a priest about a suicide victim? Do you ever hear the word come out of a pulpit?
No.
Never.
No.
Never. If that happened, where the survivors, I mean, the story's taken with the victim. The story's gone. But who's looking after the survivors?
Right.
The aftermath. Who's there to pick those pieces up? So, yeah, it'll be a work of the rest of my life, I guess. Whether I'll ever see that cloud lifted or, I don't know.
Let me but have a token through which your love is spoken. You are leaving me, but it will say you're my own. Oh, give me something to remember you by. When you are far away from me, just a little something.
As you said to me the other day when you said about the first time you came to the restaurant and I sang it, and you said, oh, it sounded different from all the other tunes. And I went, really? I said, well, and I thought about it. I thought, really, why did it? And then and you said, but there was something about the tone and things. And I went, it's because I can't do it any other way other than giving it that, because I have such a feeling for it, because it means something to me that the other tunes will never sort of, it'll never have that kind of same resonance. And it's something that I get to do every day when I'm at work, and I always remember her when I do it because it's there. So that in some ways is kind of the connection that I always will keep with her. That, when all the other, anything else, whatever's gone, I have that connection, that, can I say, that I can share with other people. And that's also personal for me too. I wanted to just have one that was for her, so that even if I didn't announce it or didn't say it to anybody, every day when I went in, I would know that that was the song that I was doing for her. So I always had that. You are leaving me, and I will try to face the world alone. What will be, for time cannot erase the love we've known. I will pray for you each night and day for you. Now it will see me through like a charm till you're returning. Oh, give me something to remember you by. When you are far away from me.
The survivors helped me understand the danger of silence and secrets. How I needed to speak what felt unspeakable. How I needed to face my own wounds and darkness. Through them, I found the courage to break the silence in my own family, to meet with my parents, and finally talk about the suicide of my uncle Elihu.
There was something about finding this in the attic and also feeling like nobody told me. Nobody said anything. There was silence about it. I think that's the piece for me that, like, why? Why was there this silence about it?
Even my parents would not talk about it. If they were talking to anybody, they wouldn't talk about it.
They wouldn't say it was a suicide?
No, that he died. It was... At that time, there was, I think, and maybe it still is true, that there was a certain connotation to suicide.
Tell me how you found out that he committed suicide. What was
I
the
found out,
story?
my mother called up and said, "Can you come over right away? There's been an accident." So she didn't tell me right away that he committed suicide. So I said, "What do you mean?" Then she told me, and then of course...
On the phone?
On the phone. And then Rita and I left our baby with her next door.
Parents.
And we went and picked up my folks, and we drove to Brookline. They lived, was it Brookline? I believe it was Brookline where they lived.
And so you went to his, because he
We went right
killed
to-
himself with gas, is that?
Right, we went right into the house.
We went right into the house with my parents, and of
Horrible.
course, it was a very silent trip. I remember we didn't talk very much going between Hartford and Boston, and we didn't know all the facts either. It was just that he did take his own life.
What did your mother say to you on the phone? Did she say he
Well, I
killed
told
himself?
you what she said. She first said it was an accident. There's
Right.
been an accident.
And then?
And then I said, what? And then she said she didn't say kill him. She just said he took his own life. She did
But
say
I think
that.
the interesting thing is, and something that really reveals a great deal about Elihu is the note he left because his note was really concerned about others.
What did the note say?
The note
The
said,
note
"I'm
said
sorry."
he had an appointment with a dentist. He said, please cancel this.
He
my
said that in the
appointment."
note?
Yep. And something else. He had an appointment to do something else, and he said, please, this was to his wife, please cancel this. And then, I'm
And then he
sorry
said, "I'm so sorry that
I'm doing this, right. So he must have been terribly depressed, and I had
But
no
he was
idea.
concerned about everyone else, and this clearly came through in the note. Yeah.
And I remember the house still smelt of gas. And we sat down and talked, and then I guess made funeral arrangements.
Did you talk to your parents about it? Like, did you talk about what happened and how you were
Well,
feeling?
we questioned. I never knew he was going to a psychiatrist, and she said he was going. I forgot why he was going. Maybe he was depressed. Maybe he had some problems, and I don't know how long he was going either. But we talked about it, but what exactly we said, I can't remember. This was 55 years ago.
55
I sometimes forget what happened yesterday.
Do you remember Dad's parents talking about it?
No, I don't remember the conversation. I really don't. I just remember my mother-in-law, Elihu's mother, beating her breast. Why? But I think on the other hand, she was such a very religious woman that I think she really thanked God. In fact, she did say this, that she thanked God that God had given her this wonderful person for this time. At least she had this. And this was something that she was very thankful for. But it was short.
What are your memories of Elihu as a young boy?
As a young boy?
Yeah.
Well, even as a young boy, he was involved in lots of things. As a young boy, he was an athlete. He was a musician, a mathematician. He taught my brother. He brought my brother and myself into the realm of skiing. We never skied, but it was Ellie that did that. He was an excellent tennis player. Now, this was when he was older than this. This was when he was maybe 11, 12, 13, 14. Excellent tennis player, and was the head of his class. And whatever he did, he was number one. And he played piano, flute, violin, and composed a little bit of music. And we would wake up early in the morning, and he would be playing, I still remember the Grieg Concerto. That was one of his standbys. And this was like 6:30, 7:45 before we all went off to school.
And when did you meet him?
Well, I knew him all my life.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because we were the same age.
Oh, so you knew him back in high school?
I knew him. Well, we weren't in the same high school, but we were supposedly in the same Sunday school class.
Supposedly?
Well, because I went horseback riding and he was and I didn't go to Sunday school very much, but he was way ahead of everybody in the class. And when Arthur and I became engaged, I had no background whatsoever. And he taught me Hebrew. He was my teacher. And I was in awe of him, really, because he had all of these awards and he was so accomplished for anyone of our age group. Son of Rabbi and Mrs. Morris Silverman, and a student in the Columbia School of Medicine, died suddenly Monday, March 3rd in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where he was studying a special 2-month course at the Harvard Medical School. A brilliant student, not only in his chosen medical field, but also in the field of human relations. In 1949, he spent the summer in a non-sectarian work camp near Nuremberg, Germany, where college students volunteered their services toward the rehabilitation of war veterans. Upon his return, Mr. Silverman expressed to many youth groups the belief that a broad exchange of views by young people of all nations should be the single step toward world peace. He was graduated from Weaver High School in 1946 and from Harvard College in the class of 1949. With the distinguished of magna cum laude, he was elected to Phi Beta Kappa and other honorary academic societies at Harvard. I mean, even after this happened, and I was not biologically related to him, but I felt did I ever see anything? Did I ever have a hint? Was there something that I could have
Could
done?
we have done something to
Right. And I'm sure that the parents really felt this and found it difficult to talk about
And to live with that.
and to live with it. Right. Well, I think that there was an impression that stayed with me, and I think there was a lot of pressure on him to always succeed because he could, and he did. And I'm not sure that that had anything to do with it, but it was something that I just thought about.
So you think that might have contributed, the fact that he...
I don't know, but I think there was. I think it was from all sides because he was so multi-gifted. It wasn't that he just had one potential. He had so many talents. He really did.
And how do you think his committing suicide affected you? Like, how did it change you? And if so, how?
Well, I think except for the loss we felt, did it change me? Yeah, I think I appreciated, again, I always appreciate every moment of life, but I think it made me more aware of how transitory it is, and it made me think of certain values, what is important and what is not important, because he had so many things going for him and so many different aspects of life, and yet he took his own life, and therefore what is really important about life. It reinforced my own feeling that you got to live for every minute, and you've got to do whatever you want and do it as well or as not as well as you want, but enjoy it because it's too short.
Do you feel like that you just in yourself ever got a chance to say goodbye? That you had a chance to honor him? Or do you feel like that you were in shock?
No, at that time we were very much in shock. And how would I honor him? In what way? You mean inwardly?
Yeah.
Pray? Well,
It's almost like I feel mourning is so important in the sense of...
Well, we mourned for him, but I don't think it was right at the time of the funeral. It was too sudden.
Yeah. So later you feel
Later
like you
on,
had a chance.
as time went on.
If you were going to say anything now to him, what would you say? Like if he's there somewhere in a peaceful place, what would you say now?
I don't know.
I would say that I agree with Arthur's mother that it was wonderful that we had him for whatever time we did, because he made such an impression on so many people for such a young person. He really did. It was almost ubiquitous because it wasn't just in a small community. He went beyond that. He was a very special person.
What's the last words of Hamlet? Bands of angels guide thee on thy sleep, but there's the first two words. What's it? Good night.
Good night, sweet prince.
Good night, sweet.
That's
I think that's very fitting. Good night, sweet prince. Bands of angels guide thee on thy sleep.
very nice. Very good. Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yiskadal v'yiskadash me rabo. V'yomo divrei kirusei v'yimloch malchusei. B'chayachol b'yomeichol. B'chayedachol beis Yisrael b'la'ov b'zman k'rimim v'ru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromov. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Oleinu al kol Yisrael v'yimruch. Amen. Put a stone.
Oh, say shalom bimramo, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, vayakol Yisrael, vayimru yimru amen. Oh, say shalom bimramo, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, vayakol Yisrael, vayimru yimru amen. Hold on, don't wanna let you go. Hold on, it's one thing you should know. You will always be here inside of me. Every day you find courage to go on, help to make it through another day. Take my hand, take my hand. You're falling, there's nothing there. No one to catch you, no one to care. But you're so